So can you still be a good motion designer if all you have is a potato PC?
I am so sad.
If your PC is old model and is really slow and you don't have a lot of money. Well, if you don't know, I make a lot of videos teaching on animating with Cinema 4D and getting your way around using Cinema 4D as a motion designer. So personally, I've been making some motion graphics videos, some product animation videos, and I dabbled into some VFX. Trust me when I say I have been through that. So there was a phase that all I had was a Lenovo ThinkPad. Now, it's not this new Lenovo ThinkPad that are very fancy. It's the old one. The one that had a Core i3. That was a laptop model. And it was about 1.8 gigahertz clock speed. That's for the CPU. And I had to use that to learn Premiere Pro and After Effects. So that was back in the early days. I still had to use that same laptop to deliver client work when I started to get client work. After a couple of client projects, I was able to gather enough money to get a better PC. So what did I do during those periods to be able to deliver and still make good videos?
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
You are going to make sure that there are no games on your laptop. There are no weird third-party files on your laptop. You don't have the RAM real estate to host those kinds of files. You're also going to make sure that you minimize the amount of bloatware on your laptop. You're going to use one of these laptop Windows cleaner to clean up all your bloatwares. You can manually do it yourself. Now, another thing that might help is I noticed Windows 11 isn't very efficient in terms of managing memory and managing CPU real estate. So you might consider switching to an older Windows. You might consider switching to Windows 10. Windows 10 has a lot less bloatware and is a lot easier on your CPU.
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
Now remember, Premiere Pro and After Effects are CPU intensive softwares. A software that is CPU intensive will need a lot of RAM. So the cheapest upgrade you can do to the laptop is upgrade the RAM. RAM prices are expensive, I understand, but this doesn't apply to older generation RAM. So that is the PC3 or the PC3L RAM. They are still pretty affordable. Like I'm currently on AliExpress and you can get them for really cheap, for really cheap, for as low as $20, $15. Even on the high side, you will see it for $30. Now, if your system comes with 4 gigs of RAM, that is not enough. You will need to upgrade it to 16 gigs. Or at the very least 8 gigs of RAM. One last thing on the hardware side that you can upgrade is the SSD. There are some cheap SSD you can get, but they aren't as fast. Those are the SATA SSDs. They're not like NVMe drives. You will notice a bump in improvement from your former HDD hard drive. So the next upgrade you'll be doing will now come from the software side of things.
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
For the software side of things, I'm going to pick these 3 softwares: your motion graphics software, your video editing software, and your 3D animation software. Now, for motion graphics, you know After Effects. After Effects is a mod. So After Effects can be a big word sometimes, especially when it comes to RAM real estate. What I did to make it work is I stay away from anything 4K. Just don't try anything 4K. Stay away from it. Try and downsize it to 1080p or 720. Now, in my preview, I worked with quarter scale preview. You cannot preview anything fast. If in full preview, don't bother. Now this will ultimately slow you down, but to make sure that you can actually finish the project and minimize your chance of your PC crashing or your After Effects getting to hang. You are also going to stay away from motion blur. You are going to try your best to animate in a way that your need for motion blur isn't too much. So your motion blur is only used for, let's say, text movements. Yeah, text movements. We are doing motion graphics for text movements. But for shape movements and weird things like that, you are going to stay away from motion blur. You cannot afford it. So think about it like you are low on cash and you need to get value for money. So take motion blur isn't value for money, unless maybe it's for text and stuff like that. You're also going to stay away from using too much of weird effects, graphic accelerated effects. Like, there's this belief that you need to add too much effects to make a good video. That's wrong. Especially if you're making a motion graphic video, that is wrong. A motion graphic video can be a simple video, especially if you're making explainers. You don't have to be too complicated.
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
I used Premiere Pro. Now I can afford to use DaVinci Resolve. I have a high-end graphics card. I use a desktop PC and everything's good. But then I could not afford it. So stay away from DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is not that it's really estate power hungry. It uses graphics card. And if your laptop is a low-end laptop, you won't even have the GPU to begin with. Now, if you're working with Premiere Pro and you don't have GPU, it means everything is software encoded, which is slow. How do you cope with it? Number one, you're going to be using proxy files. Proxy files are annoying to work with. People like to make them sound like they are one great thing. They are not. They are annoying to work with. A way to make proxy file a bit palatable is by using media encoder to downsize the files. So if you're working on a 4K video, you can downsize the file to a 480p video. But that will also take some time. It might take maybe a couple of hours to downsize all your files. When you want to export the project, you have to remember to turn off the proxy and switch back to the original video files. Then you will feel the actual render time for the actual project. That is one tip that will save you. Another thing is stay away from color grading. You can't color grade. You just can't color grade. Just stay away from any special effects. Stay away from presets. You cannot work with presets. I'm sorry. A lot of presets are made on higher end PCs. Your PC is not a high end one. So there's nothing you can do about it. Stay away from presets. Unless maybe you can get some presets that are not those old presets. You are using Envato. Yeah, make sure you get those old presets. Loato, those old ones, you can use those. Stay away from shoot your videos in a way that you don't need to use warp stabilizer all the time. You don't need to use all them gimme FM effects all the time. When you're editing, you are just editing. You edit your video, zoom in, zoom out, cut, jump. Basically like a YouTube video like this, you can edit it with your PC fine. You don't even need to use a proxy file. You can edit it fine. Yeah, so videos that you shot with your phone, you can edit them fine. If you're a content creator and you shoot video, you can edit them fine on those PC. But if you want to be like, if you want to do a lot of fixing in post, you cannot do that with Premiere Pro. Premiere Pro is not very efficient when it comes to managing CPU for laptops that aren't there yet. Let me put it that way.
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
Now, when it comes to 3D software, this is now the tricky one. I would have said you should start with Cinema 4D, but Cinema 4D is not known for even opening if your system is incompatible. So Blender is your best bet. The newer versions of Blender don't work with old models of laptop. So because of that, you will have to use Blender's old models. Now that model can be even as far back as 2.8. No jokes. And guess what? If you are starting your learning journey, that will really help. Especially if you are in a situation where you have to use the tool that you have. If all you have is that kind of PC, you will have to use 2.8. It will serve you. That was what I used to learn. I didn't learn with 2.8. I learned with 2.2 Blender then. 2.2, 2.3. It didn't even have Cycles. Cycles wasn't developed then. Yeah, so that's what I could use. And my system was 32-bit. That was the system I used before the Lenovo. And that is that for 3D. Now for rendering, stay away from rendering 1080p. You cannot afford to render 1080p. Just stay away from it. Now if you're using Blender, you can now use Eevee. Unless you're using Eevee, then you can render at 1080p. And that is the cool thing about Blender, because Blender has a game engine. And that game engine is actually really efficient with CPUs. Now, if you can find a higher model that can work with your system, like it version 3.3 or 3. Whatever, yeah, that will work better. But if all those doesn't work, I can guarantee you that 2.8 or 2.76 will work for a laptop. And it will be a good learning experience. It will be really good for you to understand how render engines work. Yes, it's a bit outdated, but it will be a very good experience, so that you'll be able to actually make good videos. You'll be able to actually make good videos, no jokes. Those tools were actually good tools back then. So you'll be able to render, you'll be able to create your scenes, light your scenes, render your scenes. Stay away from 1080p. You can't render it unless maybe you use a small icon. Maybe you're doing motion graphics and you want to render an icon. You want to animate the icon moving, and you can afford like 2 to 3 hours rendering it. That's good. You can do that. But if you are looking at full-on product animation, yeah, you most likely have to choose between low sample count and resolution. So you can't have a high sample count and a high resolution. Make your resolution a bit low, so like 720p. Then upscale it in Premiere Pro and sharpen it a bit. Those are tricks that you do. And maybe you add like some lens effects so that. So yeah, so that is for your 3D side of things. If you want more tips plenty. Tips bar. There are a lot of tips you can. So now there's also on the business side on things.
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
Because you're using low-end PC does not mean that you cannot make money, right? There's the business side of things, and this is where You sell what you can do. Play on your strength. With that kind of laptop, you can make a very good edited video. You can make a good video for a content creator. You can make a good video for an event. You shoot an event, especially from you with your iPhone or a DSLR at 1080p. You can edit those kind of videos and make a really good video with that. And with that, you can charge anywhere between $100 just with your laptop and your editing skills. But don't go about shouting that you can edit 4K videos, 4K ProRes. You won't. Your laptop will blow. You can't do that, right? So now, same thing with your motion graphics. What I used to do back then is I give my customers a very long timeline. So a video that would otherwise have taken like 7 days for me to do, I will tell them 3 weeks. So back then, any video I'm doing is 3 weeks. My customer will wait 3 weeks. I literally gave someone a code this morning and I told the person it will take 3 days or 4 days or 5 days. And that is based on my scheduling. Sometimes it could take, like that kind of video, I remember then, I would do that video in 3 weeks. And that is okay because I made my money with it. You could charge anywhere between $50 to $300 with that kind of with that skill. Don't let the PC hinder you from actually improving on the skill, because it's the skill that people are paying you for, not really the PC. And that's what a lot of us get trapped into, where we think it's the PC itself. So we spend a lot of money on PC and forget that we actually need to get good at our craft. I've seen guys with really expensive PCs and they're not really that good, and they don't make money from that PC because people are not paying for the PC, they pay for your skill. So that is the entire dynamics with this, right? I don't want the video to be a long video, but it has to be, because I care about you. I care about people I'm talking to. I've been in that situation and I know how that situation is frustrating. So you can design your package around the tools you have. You can gather up $1,000 and buy a better PC and be out of that hellhole. But it's still your skill that took you to that point that you could afford a $1,000 PC that will take you to that will sustain you when you actually have that PC. Even though you will retrogress. And that's the annoying thing in this entire space.
And in my dreams, I'm holding hands with you.
If you have a project and you want to work with me, there's a link below where you can fill out a form and book a call with me, and I'll get in touch. Also, if you want a one-on-one training for motion graphics or 3D animation, you can also fill out that form and put it there, and I will also get in touch.